Welcome to the Sandpit Startup Spotlight. This is the show where bold founders step up to pitch their startups in front of a judging panel, including myself, Abhishek, and today's special guest, a seasoned investor operating on behalf of Oraseya Capital, a $136 million Dubai-based venture capital fund actively investing in groundbreaking startups from pre-seed to Series B stage. The stakes could not be higher. While the deals won't be made today on the spot, the decisions and impressions formed today could pave the way for life-changing opportunities for these founders. With a portfolio that includes innovating companies like Writer, Pideo, Vooz, Ogram, Remote Pass, and Let's Work, Oraseya Capital is known for backing transformative ventures that redefine industries.
Today we are thrilled to showcase 3 exciting startups. But before we jump into the pitches, let me introduce you to our guest investor. Representing Oraseya Capital, Elliott Denham. Elliott, let's start by hearing about your investment portfolio and your investment appetite. We'd love to hear about Oraseya Capital from you.
Sure, gentlemen, thank you very much for having me here today. As Sam mentioned, Oraseya Capital is a Dubai-based VC fund. We're a $136 million fund, the exclusive VC arm of Dubai Integrated Economic Zone Authority. We invest from pre-seed all the way through to Series B. And most notably, whilst we're sector agnostic, we can lead, we can follow, we can invest directly, we can invest on convertibles. But most importantly for early stage founders, we can reinvest. So we take great pride in investing early, backing high potential founders at that early stage, and doubling down on the winners.
Amazing. Yeah, we've got a good selection for you here today, particularly in the early stages. So hopefully something's going to trigger your appetite. So let's introduce the first one.
Sounds good.
Hi guys, pleasure to be here today. I'm Sufyan, founder of GetDesky. So I've spent the last 12 years managing recruitment processes for businesses in the UK, Fortune 500s, startups, VCs, and recruitment till today still remains highly manual. You've got to bring in applications, you have to review CVs, you have to conduct phone screenings, you have to schedule interviews, take notes, bring up interview scorecards. It's a highly manual process which wastes a lot of time for recruiters. Now with the adoption of AI, companies still remain pretty much basic around how they adopt AI into their processes. This all leads to very much high time to hires, a KPI that's heavily measured within internal teams. So we decided, let's build an ecosystem of AI agents. These agents can be deployed to conduct numerous tasks across 3 different verticals: pre-hiring, hiring, post-hire. You can do your job descriptions, you can post your jobs, you can go from 1,000 applications to 100 or even 10. You can do phone screenings, and you can also do interview scheduling. So today's MVP is all about building the foundations. We've created a basic ATS system which allows you to post jobs, track your applications, and collaborate with your team. What we will also do for this MVP is deploy the first 2 agents, which is reviewing CVs, giving you the top 10, and also conducting phone screenings. So the opportunity remains very large. We're building at the intersection of 2 markets, talent acquisition technology and AI agents. Now we're going to start with our SOM, which is a $955 million market. We anticipate that 53% of the GDP comes from SMEs across the UAE. You have to just look at the SME agenda that the government have produced. I think it's about 1 million businesses in this sector that are due to be there by the end of 2030. So if we can capture those, we can then expand into the larger markets. So we've got a very scalable, predictable revenue streams, subscription-based model, starter packages, pro packages, and enterprises. You pay $199 a month for your starter, and you get 200 tasks. Those tasks are those AI agents that I mentioned in the previous slide. Once you run out of these tasks, companies can continue to deploy these agents, but at very low cost, where you will pay per task. If you want to buy bulk add-ons, that's available to you. For example, 1,000 tasks will cost you $70. That will allow us to continue bringing in revenue, even though those tasks have been completed at the end of each month. So we've got an industry expertise team to transform hiring. I've spent 12 years in the recruitment industry. I've got Shivam, who's graduated from the University of California from Dubai and is working on machine learning. He's deployed a bunch of agents in his spare time already. Same with Anirudh. He just graduated from the Guildford University and he has also deployed numerous agents in his spare time. I've got 2 advisors, Tristan has basically worked for a bunch of Sequoia-backed companies in the US. He has scaled teams and gone to market with a number of organizations. Kiranjit is a VP of People and HR from the London ecosystem as well, and she's worked for a bunch of Fortune 500s and startups. HR teams will be my main buyer, so it's useful to have an individual like that on my advisory panel. So what do we need to build a future of hiring? I'm looking for $550,000 in pre-seed funding. Majority of this will be for salaries, so I can bring in a team that can focus on data science, machine learning and software, marketing and growth. This would allow me to scale the product purely through founder-led sales, but also through paid advertising. So we can capture the businesses that we're looking for. And then our infrastructure. We need to deploy these models and use compute to basically train these models and fine tune them. So the costing will be allocated to those as well. Thank you for your time.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Elliott, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I mean, let's start with a compliment. Fairly well covered and comprehensive pitch deck. I think you managed to get most points in a short amount of time. The point is clear, but let's jump straight into one of the biggest questions that really was flagged in my mind whilst I was listening, Sufyan, which is the competitive landscape.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that the AI agent space is very, very hot right now,
Yep.
which is opportunistic, but also present huge amount of competition. There's also no slowing down of the need for better recruitment tools and processes. So what I need to understand in one or two very succinct sentences is, what is the USP and defensibility and differentiator of GetDesky?
Yes, so it's a crowded market, as we know, and that's not something I'm particularly worried about. I think my industry expertise and unique experience that I can bring from working within these teams will allow me to build a product in a way that recruiters will need it. And secondly, we're just about automating the process and making recruiters more productive. And if we can focus on the automation and the productivity, it enables teams to basically work more efficiently. And that leads to those hires that they need to make in a short space of time.
How much more efficiently?
So in terms of measuring the efficiency, I'm not going to give you an exact number or make a number up. We can gather that data once we've deployed it within the organizations. But I know from the top of my head that it will make recruiters much more efficient. Secondly, the way we're building these models, it's not as if we're just going through like keywords or deploying an open source model straight away. We are doing open source, but what we're then doing is we're going to create a feedback loop. So once we receive data from CVs or even the way recruiters work with the software, we can fine tune these models in a way where it's going to become much more efficient.
Have you trialed this with anyone yet?
We haven't trialed it. We're pretty much in the MVP build stage. And most of these assumptions, but these assumptions are being validated in a lot of our customer research conversations we're having with businesses.
So who's that ICP, the ideal customer profile?
The ideal customer profile is very simple. It's talent acquisition teams within businesses.
And how many other conversations have you had? Have you got customers ready to onboard with this?
We've got customers that are verbally agreed to be like, we will use this product when it's ready. And we're ranging from businesses from small to medium size.
All right, so these verbal commitments would be turned into LOIs very soon. But just to give the audience also a better perspective, there must be some global comparables that you might have, which would, because I don't believe this is the one of its kind of startup in the world. So that would definitely help the audience and the investors to understand.
Yeah, no, very good question. So in terms of the competitive landscape, you have the global players from like the ATS standpoint, right? So you have Workday, Greenhouse, Lever, Workable, Ashby. They're all now venturing into the AI space. So if you just go on their career stage, they're actually looking for machine learning engineers to bring in. So that is a signal to say they want to branch out into this area, but they haven't deployed anything. The only direct competitor is a company called Cooler AI, which is a YC-backed company from India. It's an ex-Stripe employee, and that's the closest business model that I can compete with right now. And then you have a company called, I think is Augment, which is basically building digital workers, but for HR and recruitment as well. So from my opinion, I think it's just going to be who can build it and who can take it to the market the quickest and then provide the greatest value to the companies.
Why are you building this here? And what competitive advantage does it have to deploy out of the UAE?
So building in the UAE, it's an emerging market, as we all know, number one. And number two, the SME landscape, which is the core market I want to go for first, is probably one of the largest in the world. And thirdly, there's data to show that Dubai is actually the world's most competitive global job market, followed by Abu Dhabi in the 4th position. So if we can capture our market in these areas first and really prove our model works, it is easier for us then to scale, whether we go to US or Europe or Asia or wherever. We can take that and build it over there.
Will GetDesky also provide advantages to job seekers?
So where it works for job seekers is job seekers get a fair play in getting their profile reviewed. So right now you apply for a job and you may actually never hear back from an organization. Where the AI screening comes into place is if you apply for a job, you will receive an email to say, look, a human being can reach out to you in 2 weeks, or why don't you book some time here and our agent will give you a screening call within the next 10 minutes if you want. You then take a 20-minute conversation and answer questions that have been set by the company themselves. So you have a fair play of providing your expertise, and then that report is generated and sent to the internal teams. So because it's AI, you can conduct hundreds of thousands of calls at once, which, for teams, I don't even need to tell you how disruptive that can be.
Absolutely. Obviously, it all hinges on the ability to be able to hire good talent. Does that mean that talent has to onboard on your platform? And if so, then isn't that quite an expensive endeavor?
So onboarding is a separate module. So what usually happens is once you've hired the individual, the onboarding process moves into the HR team. That's a separate software itself. Now, it's not to say I've not thought about the onboarding process, and it's something that's on the roadmap, but right now it's not something that we're focusing on.
Sorry, I meant onboarding onto your platform.
So the onboarding onto my platform
for talent to be available through the platform, they have to subscribe or something.
Oh, no. So no talent will sign up to the platform. This is a pure B2B play. So only companies will sign up to the product.
Okay.
Talent will never engage with the platform. They will only engage with it when they apply to a job, whether that's, let's just say, for example, Kareem's website. They fill in the application form and the details.
Right.
That information gets dropped into my platform at that point.
As you mentioned, it's a B2B model, right? Yeah. So the sales cycle usually for B2B is a bit longer. So if we had to look at if you receive the investment or when you receive the investment, the next 12 months, what are the revenue projections that you have top of mind?
So this is why I left out that typical financial slide, because I didn't just want to make up a hockey curve stick for you guys. And, in my model, and I'm happy to share that with you later, we can get to 1 million ARR within the first 24 months.
Okay.
And just to give you an insight into the sales cycle, this is why I'm going after SMEs first, because you're either talking directly to the decision makers, which is either an early stage business owner or the TA teams, who usually hold the budgets to basically purchase these products. So we can deploy that within the first 1 to 2 months in a sales cycle. But over time, we can go down the PLG route where you just sign up, you download the software, and then we will onboard you and off you go.
What's the current burn and runway without the fundraise, and then after that changes?
Yeah, so I've raised previous funding and I've got 6 months left on that. Yeah. And the burn rate at the minute is $7,000 a month. Okay,
that's relatively low. But when I look at the slide of the ask, 550K at pre-seed stage, I notice over 50% is spent on salaries.
Yes.
Does that suggest the tech is already fully built?
The tech is built from the applicant tracking system point, yes. Now, where the tech needs to be further built, right, is the data science angle. So the way I described earlier about my models is we're going to be training these on a continuous feedback, we're going to fine-tuning model, but it needs a heavy data input. So data science talent is obviously quite expensive if you want somebody that's got nose in the game to come and build that. And number two, with machine learning, also we need somebody who's got skin in the game to build that as well. So hiring strong people with strong backgrounds will allow us to build faster as well.
Are you going to use GetDesky to hire those talents?
Of course, I have to.
Could you talk me through the commitments of that 550 round at the moment?
Very early days. They're all first conversations. So I'm working through that as the weeks go by.
Okay.
Warm intros, cold outreach, and hopefully I can, convert some of these into commitments as well.
What do you want from your investor other than the capital?
I think for me, it's more about customer, getting more customers. I think if I can go to a reputable VC who has a big portfolio, every single company in that portfolio will need this product because people need to hire, and for people to hire, they need a product like this. So it's a very easy go-to market.
Okay.
And that's my core angle. I think the industry thing, I have it covered. Like, I mean, I've spent 12 years in it, so I can sell it. I know how to build it, so I'll be the product owner for all of that as well. That's going to be pretty simple for me to do.
In a nutshell, for the panel, but also for the listeners, why you and why now? The reason I ask that is because at Oraseya Capital, we're sector agnostic. So we're looking at basically risk mitigation. It could be HR tech, it could be AI, it could be ed tech, the next day it could be fintech. And so ultimately we're looking at which vehicle in front of us, which investment opportunity in front of us offers the highest potential upside with the lowest potential risk.
Yeah.
So why you and why now?
So why me? It's pretty simple. I've worked in the industry for 12 years. I've got the domain experience. You've seen a bunch of these pitches before, and I don't believe majority of them have actually worked in the industry. They just see it as a problem. Number two, I think heavy AI adoption. We just need to Google AI in the UAE and you'll see how bullish the UAE are in adopting AI across the whole of the country. There's numerous reports to suggest that. So it feels like it's a great time to go and build in this sector.
All right. Thank you, Sufyan.
Amazing. Yeah, I think we're all cleared up on the questions.
Yeah,
Is there any last remarks you want to leave us with?
No, thank you for the opportunity. It's been lovely, and yeah, thanks for the time.
Awesome.
Wish you the best of luck.
Great
Cheers.
pitch. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Okay, so hello everybody, my name is Christiana Maxion. I am the founder of Maxion, the matchmaking app. We launched here in Dubai, February 2024, so about 11 months ago, and we have over 6,000 applications in our waiting list. We have over 3,000 people inside our portal, and yeah, our mission is to make expat cities feel a lot less lonely. So let's get on.
Fantastic.
So there is a lot of disappointment and crazy stats with the current dating app market. And the one that stands out the most to me is that 77% of online daters don't actually go on in-person dates. And this is due to lots of spam accounts, scam accounts, and basically Maxion is solving this problem. So, that slid over, but anyway, this is our solution. So on Maxion, there is no swiping. We actually send you compatible profiles daily. And once it is a mutual connection, so you are allowed to say yes, maybe pass. So once yes, yes on both sides, our tech actually plans, books, and confirms your in-person date. There is no more wasted time chatting. You actually get on in-person dates, and this expedites the process of finding a potential partner. Here we are. These are some of our main features. And like I was mentioning before, in terms of all of the spam accounts, scam accounts, our target market are accomplished professionals in the UAE, and everybody on our platform is passport verified, and we look through your LinkedIn to look at your professional timeline to see if you would be a qualified Maxion member. So yes, the dating app industry is huge, but our advantages is that we are a UAE homegrown business. So we are ADGM, we have our SPV here and our OpCo here. And on top of that, you do not need a VPN to use our app. Most of the other dating apps on the market, you do need one. So the total addressable market here in the UAE alone is 1.2 million people. Yes, we are not a freemium app, we are premium. So everybody does pay for a subscription on our platform. With that being said, if we grab 1% of that target market, basically we have $15 million in annual revenue. And you can see the stats here. We can go over that later if you'd like. And yes, this is our traction from February through August of this year. So like I mentioned before, our stats, but through this, we have 28.5% in our conversion rate. And yeah, our CAC is $22. And for each paying customer, we average about $132. So our marketing spend from February to August was $37,000, and our total rev in that time period was $60,000. So our ROI is 59%. So yay, this is me. Why did I launch Maxion? So I have years of experience as a global matchmaker with 96% success rate, but only for millionaires and billionaires. So I decided to digitize my services, and our target market now is accomplished professionals here in the UAE. And yeah, I mean, you think about the UAE as, or used to be, a very transient city, and a lot of people would leave because they couldn't find a partner. But the UAE is now becoming more of a permanent home for people. And how do you establish that? It's by really putting down roots here and forming relationships. So we're excited to address that. This is our fantastic team, of course, me, our CTO, and we have a wonderful group of advisors who are also top two are in the dating app industry as CIO and CEO of a dating app in the US. These are our revenue projections. Yes, we are this year in 2024, we will be making over 100,000 US. So we're excited about that and many more things to come in the future. So yes, we already closed a pre-seed round of 600,000 US dollars last year. We are now raising 1.5. This is basically to secure a significant share of the market here, explore adjacent markets, but then also a huge chunk of it is going to go into our AI enhancements. I know everybody hates the word super app, but we do plan to create an app where basically you can outsource your entire love life through our platform, and we can get into that a little bit more there. And yeah, here are our stats.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Christiana, thanks for coming in and being with us.
No problem.
Why do we need another dating app in the ecosystem? What
yeah.
part of the dating ecosystem is being neglected where Maxion is plugging that gap?
So that's it, right? What I was saying before about 77% of online daters don't go on in-person dates. And what's happening is that on a traditional
What do they do then?
What was that?
What do they do?
They're just swiping and they're just talking. But what is happening is on these traditional dating apps, the ratio of men to women is actually 70 to 30. So with that, these dating apps have had to actually create spam accounts, bot accounts that are just, you're talking to fake people all day long, right? And that's why you're not going on in-person dates. So with Maxion, everybody is a verified member, also passport checked. So you are going on real dates with real people.
Tell me more about that experience you've had matchmaking millionaires and billionaires, because I imagine there's not many CEOs or founders of dating apps that have that domain experience.
Exactly, yeah.
What have you learned from that, and why does that process need to be digitized today?
Yes, so what I realized was that I was finding success for our clients, right? But it's a small group of people that we can work with because it's a very hands-on process. So I decided to digitize my services and create Maxion. And what I found is that you can never really tell the true compatibility of two people from two flat profiles, so they have to meet in person. So we expedite that process as matchmakers with the agency, and this is what I've actually put into the platform on Maxion. So you skip that wasted time of talking and you just meet in person. We gather that feedback then perfects the compatibility, and yeah, we expedite that process for you.
I see, so essentially, if I'm a user of Maxion, I can find my profile is matched with a handful of profiles.
Exactly.
If I like them or I want to match with them, you then schedule the date.
The tech does that.
Or your tech does that. We go on the date, and then it comes back for complete the feedback loop by asking us both what we thought.
Exactly, and then you can plan the next date through it. We also have in-person parties where you get to maximize your chances for connection.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people want to get off the digital space and meet in real life. So we are facilitating that.
To ask you on probably how word spreads for Maxion, because people know about the other dating apps. So how does this go through apart from the people who are there in the group?
Yeah, so we have a lot of word of mouth. We have a lot of referrals as well. And I think that because of my success as a matchmaker, like I'm in over 350 media mentions, people really know me and they know the brand and they have that trust with it.
So you're not going for any marketing strategy or ad strategy in order to get the customers?
Yes.
Because for example, with millionaires and billionaires, it's a very niche market. So people would talk about it with their inner circle, but for example, with Maxion, how do I know that if I'm looking for a dating app, Maxion pops up before the other competition?
Yes, so right now we have a ad campaign with Meta and with LinkedIn, but now that we've taken on our new CTO and a new marketing team, we are strategizing that right now. And that's where a lot of our raise will go towards, is grabbing that significant share of the market here.
Because customer retention is, because it's a premium model, so I believe the margins will be good.
Yes,
so it'll take care of it, because with other apps, people move on to other apps, or they have to find ways to retain the customers. So that's why I was asking you regarding your strategy.
Yes, and also another thing that we're doing when I was talking about the AI enhancements, right, is what we really want to do with the use of our raise for this round is basically become kind of like this super app for your social life in terms of we are going to know so much about you that we know when you need to go to the barber to get a haircut, and our platform will book that for you. We also know, hey, you're going to Zuma for a date at 7 p.m. We know what people wear to Zuma. We know your style. Okay, maybe we partner up with Unas and we send you your shopping bag. Also delivering advice in order for you to find success, and in terms of retention as well. So right now, Maxion is for single people, right? But what we really want to do is help people build and sustain relationships. So we also have in the pipeline through our AI matchmaking assistant is that you can ask questions, or let's say we're dating, right? And now it's the third date, right? And it can tell you things like, hey, Christiana really doesn't like morning text, but ping her during lunchtime to do whatever. And we also have a gifting partnership in there as well. So like there's a lot of things that we can create with Maxion so that it becomes like this one-stop shop for your dating life.
So what happens once you've matched and you've had 2 or 3 dates, 4 dates, you like each other? Do you leave Maxion? No need for it. You've got each other's numbers. You move to WhatsApp. Like how does Maxion, the role of Maxion sustain once that initial matchmaking effort has been made?
Yeah, so what I was saying with the AI matchmaking assistant. So I think about it from our side as matchmakers, right? What we do as well is we don't just put you on dates, we then help you throughout the relationship, right?
Okay.
We're answering questions for you, we're giving you tips and tricks. So with that being said, we want to turn our AI matchmaking assistant into that as well. So an idea that we're actually developing right now is, let's say you and I are dating and we put in a question, like a meaningful question, right? That goes to both of us. And we each answer it separately. And then this is like your talking point for your dinner that night, and or it goes to the other person. So a way that basically not just putting people together just for first dates, but helping you sustain and build relationships.
So the pitch was very oriented towards the UAE, and having lived here nearly 2 decades myself, I understand why this is needed for this demographic. But how does it expand globally? I think Dubai has a very unique demographic, and this sort of targets a very niche space. But how do you go global with this?
So what our plans are actually is that we are going to explore adjacent markets. We actually want to dominate GCC. I think that the US, Europe, UK are very saturated when it comes to dating apps, where our trajectory is not only to have it here in UAE, but then also create other portals that are specific for Indian connections, Muslim marriages, because right now there is actually a 63% divorce rate in the UAE amongst Muslim marriages. So there is some kind of missing link there that we want to try to solve.
You talked about your go-to-market. I'd like you to elaborate, being so far being word of mouth. Now you're raising, I think you're asking 1.5. So of that 1.5, 28%, according to your slides, is going to be spent on marketing expenses. What are your go-to-market efforts? How are you going to win over existing single people who are using your competitors?
Yeah, so we have a campaign that we're building out right now that is not just, of course, like with a dating app, people feel more secure with seeing it on your phone, downloading it from like an ad, right? But we want Maxion to be like, I think a lot of people feel this, not shame, but for lack of a better word, shame to be like, oh, we met on Tinder, or oh, we met on Bumble, on like a dating app, where we want people to be proud to like meet on Maxion. So with our target audience of accomplished professional, successful individuals, we plan to do a lot of like guerrilla marketing. In a sense, like I remember when Bumble first launched, right? They started in universities and they would have like just hot girls walk in with Bumble shirts late to class. So we want to do cool efforts like that where people are like, oh, it's cool to be a Maxion member. Oh, we met on Maxion. And then also all of the exclusive parties that we have down the line in our pipeline are going to help create that buzz.
Yeah, but university students are not your ICP.
No. I was just referring to Bumble, meaning like the guerrilla marketing aspect of it.
To date, how many users do you have? How many downloads?
Oh gosh, right now we probably have close to 10,000, and now inside our platform we have over 6,000 on the wait list and close to 3,000 inside the portal.
So of those who are already in and are using the app, how much time are they spending on Maxion?
I can get you that information. I don't have that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final question from me is, arranging dates for millionaires and billionaires with the highest standards sounds like a headache. How do you like envisage doing that without it being a headache, and how can that be scalable?
Well, the offline agency is separate to Maxion. So Maxion, it's completely tech. So You put in your availability, I put in my availability, and through our partnership that we have a reservation system partnership, it ends up booking the date for you. So it goes directly to the restaurant and back, and we actually are going to introduce experiences next, where you can, this is for in order, what we're speaking about with relationships.
Right.
Let's say you've already been on a date now, so maybe you want to book Atmosphere in Burj Khalifa as your second date, third date, fourth date. You can do that through our app as well.
So there'll be a part of the marketing budget that needs to go to onboard all these experiences, right?
No, they reach out to us actually. And
Really?
what's also cool about our home screen too, because of the caliber of people and members inside our platform, we actually were approached to businesses to buy ad space on our home
nice.
screen.
Okay.
So it's another revenue stream that I didn't even think of. It was
Amazing.
so funny. They actually ended up emailing me and saying, hey, we want to buy ad space on your app. And they were like, how much does it cost? I was like, oh, let me get back to you with that. I was like, I don't know if we're not. But it all worked out. I was like, another revenue stream. Here we go.
Wonderful. Well, yeah, fair enough. I mean, cool. I think we've asked all our questions.
Thank you, Christiana.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for coming in and presenting.
Sure.
Really appreciate it. So, Elliot, what are we thinking after Christiana's presentation?
She's got excellent energy, great domain experience, and a strong team on board early. The number of users, whilst it's growing month on month, is still in its infancy. So there's a little bit of product market fit, but if you're in the dating space and you're looking for your potential next partner, that intersection between volume and quality is a really important consideration. I'd love to see how she continues tracking that. But the fact that she's already raised the pre-seed in the past, she mentioned off camera there that she's potentially looking at
Getting a term sheet very soon.
bringing her first term sheet. That's positive.
Okay. Well,
Fantastic. So we've had two exciting startups, so we'll bring on the third.
Yep.
So we'll have Salman with us from Platable.
awesome.
Yeah, my name is Salman. I'm the founder of Platable.
Good to see you.
And I'll dive into the problem firsthand. 1/3 of all food produced globally goes to waste, and this costs the world about $1.2 trillion in food waste. Not only that, it has a massive impact on the environment, contributing to over 10% of global GHG emissions. And all of this while 800 million people across the globe are trying to get access to good food when we as a society are producing enough to feed them 2 times over. At Platable, we are looking to address this problem specifically in the consumer retail space to begin with, and we are doing it by creating a marketplace to connect consumers to the surplus unsold inventory that would otherwise go to waste, and enabling them to buy it at a reduced price. We've done this enablement through a mobile app which is currently live on the App Store and the Play Store. Consumers download the app, browse the various food outlets around them, and reserve it to either pick it up themselves, or they can decide to get it delivered at a specific time slot. For now, we've kept the business model fairly simple in order to have the least amount of friction. We charge a fixed 15% commission for each and every order that we bring into our partners. The consumers don't pay anything as of now, and we'll be focusing on enabling other forms of revenue soon after. The market size is massive. The food surplus market globally in the consumer retail space is about a $250 billion segment. US, UAE and KSA are the leaders in the space, unfortunately, in terms of food waste. They waste about 40% of the overall food that comes into the country. It's an $18 billion food surplus market going to waste, and if we even look at addressing 10% of the segment, we are looking at a $1.8 billion market. The timing couldn't have been better. The whole region is moving towards being more sustainable, and we want to be one of the drivers for helping the leadership and consumers in the region achieve the goal of reducing food waste by 50% by the year 2030 as a part of the sustainable development goals for the region. The overall food ecosystem has massive players in the space. We have Talabat, Kareem, Hunger Station out of KSA, but there's no one currently addressing the surplus food space. That's where we intend to focus. There's one other company based out of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia called Baraka, and we want to be in the business of helping F&B outlets sell their surplus inventory be more profitable and sustainable at the same time. We intend to be different by initially focusing only on the UAE market. There's no major competitor in the UAE market currently. We want to come in addressing the cafes and bakeries segment first, because that's the easiest to address and they have the largest percentage of food waste. But our next focus in phase 2 is going to be to go after the dead stock and close to expiry stock at supermarkets and manufacturers. That's the much larger volume segment. Even though the percentage is smaller, it's much larger. And that's when we will enter KSA as well, being a larger market for the region. Everyone wants to go after the big animal in the MENA. And in terms of traction, we've gone live on the App Store and the Play Store. We've been beta testing over the last 3 weeks and have got over 350 organic downloads, have processed over 150 orders in the last 3 weeks. We've also signed partnerships with Dunkin', Costa, Krispy Kreme, Common Grounds, to name a few big brands. However, we are looking at enabling them cluster by cluster in order to increase the efficiency of our marketing spend. So we are taking DIFC as the first cluster to launch with, and then focusing on Barsha and so on and so forth. In terms of the team, I'm Salman. I've already got introduced to you guys. I have over 11 years of experience building commercial functions and startups in the region. Along with me is my cousin and my co-founder in the tech whiz, Mustafa. He had earlier built Postmates, and his claim to fame is that if you've ever used Uber, he's the one who's built the checkout at Uber. So he has 1 million people using his code every day. Apart from the two of us, we have a team of 7 people, including the two of us. It's a team of 7 focused on building tech, product, and UI UX. And we have 2 people who are ex-Pika, ex-Carriage, currently working on building out the supply side of things. In terms of the ask, we are currently also raising a pre-seed round of $500,000. The main intention of this is to reach PMF, especially in the UAE and the region, doing 100,000 orders and having at least 500 vendors actively transacting on the platform. We will also use the funds to build out the product further and be able to cater to the supermarket, dead stock, and close to expiry segment that we were mentioning. And out of this, we've currently already got commitments for close to 350K. Still running around, so maybe we get some money here today too.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's it. You can download the app, and I think you might have already heard about me. I'm active on the group talking about people to download, but yeah.
Salman, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great pitch, clear, well-designed slides as well. So well done there. And it's a very clear problem that you're solving for. Let's jump into a couple of questions. Why has Too Good To Go, the leader in Europe, not expanded to the UAE or to the GCC?
So Too Good To Go, 3 years back, raised a massive round to expand into the biggest market of all, the US. And they're currently focused on expanding to over 20 cities in the US. Their sole focus is US as of now. Also, the recent market they entered was they went back to Australia. They had pulled out of Australia. They've recently expanded into Australia. We are also speaking to a couple of people who have worked at Too Good To Go before and have it in good confidence that they will most probably enter this market, but maybe somewhere down the line in 2 or 3 years.
Okay, so when that happens, not if, but when that happens, what's the defensibility? What's the play of Platable to make sure that there's not going to be a Too Good To Go?
So one thing about the surplus food segment is that if you solve it right, and if you're the first person to solve it right, then there's only certain limited amount of inventory that can be sold out. So if I'm the one selling all the surplus for Dunkin', they have no reason for onboarding another platform, because it just makes it more cumbersome for them to update that limited amount of inventory on multiple platforms. So it's not like any other food tech platform, but only one person can exist.
So speed is of the essence then.
Yes.
But this is a US brand, and if they've already conquered the US, surely it makes sense for them to just have an agreement across both countries.
No, so we have, so they've already heard about Too Good To Go back in Europe and in the US. It's a European brand. It's one of the few Danish unicorns out there. and they want to solve the problem, but they don't have people solving the problem across the board, right? Across multiple regions. Too Good To Go is the only big player who does it successfully. Also, what another point that we've noticed is people usually look at the number of consumers that are there in order to define the market, but they often miss out that in terms of per capita wastage, the MENA region is by far the biggest, right? So it's number one is Saudi has 420 kgs of food waste per capita. Just to give you comparisons, it's 120 on the average for European countries, right? So we are doing 3 orders of 3 in magnitude. So there's a much bigger segment to address, even though the consumer base might be slightly smaller.
I have a question regarding the consumer base, right? So first of all is stock. So I used Too Good To Go when I was in Spain. So they give steep discounts on products which are unsold, probably close to ending of their shelf life. You mentioned about 15% as your commission. So the unit economics for such a food delivery business, it's quite expensive. And if there are steep discounts on stock which is about to be sold, how would you probably be breaking even? It would probably take you more. And secondly, the consumer base is 10 million over here, but whereas in Spain and in Europe, it's much bigger than that. For example, Spain was 35 million, and that's why they were being able to sustain over there. So what are your thoughts on sustainability?
So one thing, in order to, what you're saying is absolutely right. The basket size is normally, so you would think of it in a way where you're already discounting the particular product so much that your commission take rate is very small.
Right.
But what Too Good To Go does perfectly well, and what we've also learned from them, thanks to them doing the same thing for a long time, is that it's never a specific product that we sell. So you say, for example, we have Dunkin' on board. We never sell the chocolate donut at Dunkin' at a discount. It's always a surprise box that gets handed out to the consumer, and because it's a surprise box, you can raise the average order value by saying that the minimum price that you have to pay for a surprise box is say 50, but then you ensure that you get 100 dirhams worth of product.
So it will not be higher than going to a Dunkin' and purchasing.
It won't be. So the other way to put it would be, you could go to Dunkin' and buy 3 donuts for 24, but you could end up buying on Platable and you could get 6.
Okay.
Right? But so the order value still remains the same, but you essentially get more worth for your money than, and that's how we ensure that we keep the take rate and commissions high.
And how are you taking care of the logistics bit? Because you will have delivery done by yourself, or?
So we want to primarily drive pickups.
Okay.
Because pickups is where we make the maximum amount of money, and that's the reason why I mentioned we are taking a cluster-focused approach. Yeah. The only way pickups work is when it's convenient for you to actually step down and get something rather than wait 35-40 minutes for a driver to come in something that's right below your building, right? So we want to primarily drive pickups on the model. Okay. We are testing out deliveries currently, also because consumers in the region are spoiled for convenience. Right? Let me put it that way. Like, everyone would rather pay 10 dirhams to get something delivered rather than have to walk down and get it. So we might do deliveries. We will charge for it nonetheless in order to still drive pickups more. But well, if you are ready to pay for it and get it delivered, we are none the wiser to tell you no. Right?
Salman, I'm familiar with this model. I've seen multiple founders trying to really tackle this issue in this market over the past 2.5-3 years. So with that, hurdles that they've faced have been the brands don't necessarily want to be perceived as discount brands. And as a result, whilst brands still have this problem of food waste, they're not willing to onboard themselves to a platform that aligns with discounting food, even though there's an environmental benefit. Equally, on Careem, I can buy a fairly substantial lunch delivered for 25 to 35 dirhams regularly. So with that in mind, you've got a very price-conscious demographic in the UAE as well. How are you essentially navigating this balance between price-conscious, value of a lot of food for 3 meals for the price of 1, and environmental consciousness?
So let me address the first part of your question, right, where you mentioned that brands aren't particularly very receptive to a certain idea like this, because of course, as a brand, I don't want to be perceived as someone who discounts food. It cannibalizes my own brand value and it's a loss of revenue, right? At the end of the day, if someone's ready to buy something at 30, why should I sell it to them at 15? And we've had a couple of, I won't name them, but we've had a couple of vendors who've tried it. And we've spoken to vendors to actually understand why they never liked the idea or why they never pushed it. And that's because everyone who tried it would list out specific items. So you could go to LDC and buy, say, their chicken Caesar wrap, right? And when you do that, what ends up happening at the end of the day is, as Elliott, who's a customer who normally buys at, say, 55 dirhams that chicken Caesar wrap, will now wait for a certain time slot to get it at half the price if you're okay with it, right? And that leads to them losing out revenue, because you have a customer who has the intent to buy at full price now getting converted to buying at half the price. And that's why brands don't particularly prefer the model. Now, what Too Good To Go, again coming back to the leaders who've done it, did right was they only ever sold surprise boxes. So you could buy, so when you go, let's come back to the example at Platable. So on our app at Common Grounds, you can buy a wrap box, but you don't know which wrap box you're going to get. So if you're very specific that you want the chicken Caesar wrap, you can buy it at full price. But if you're not very specific, you know the quality of Common Grounds is amazing. You know that the wrap box are normally priced at, wraps are normally priced at 60 dirhams. You get to buy it on our platform for 35. So you know the quality is going to be nice. You get it at 2 p.m. instead of buying it at 12 to 1, you get it at 2 p.m. in the IFC. It's a win-win, right? They get to sell it to someone who would have otherwise not bought. So it could either be Elliott, who loves the brand but doesn't care what he gets, or it could be Salman, who's never thought of paying, who's not comfortable with paying 55 for a normal lunch, but would rather pay 30 dirhams for getting access to food from Common Grounds, right? As long as it's Common Grounds, I don't care. And that's what helps them decide what goes into the box and doesn't cannibalize their own brand value, and lets them actually generate revenue from a source that was non-existent up till now for them in the region.
Shout out to Common Grounds. So you launched a pilot in June.
Yeah.
But you said you're doing a soft launch in September. What results have you seen thus far from that pilot?
So the first time we did like a soft launch, we had a lot of issues with onboarding brands, and that's what we had to sort of crack and figure out. Brands wanted us to be live with other brands in order to come on board. Nobody wanted to be the first person on the platform, right? So it took a lot of time for us to get that first convert, and then the ball started rolling. And from the consumer side, we've learned that, like I mentioned, some people wanted deliveries. They weren't comfortable with the ideas of pickup, even though we were trying to drive pickups in the beginning. And as they progressed, we started sort of convincing them to go and try out pickups instead of having to spend more money. And price, so two things we wanted to understand was the customer behavior in terms of pickups and deliveries. That is what was primary. And number two was to understand if they would like the idea of buying a surprise box. So quality and price was the combination that we needed to figure out. And giving deliveries on the platform was something that got us to that decision also. So
good. Pleased to hear that.
Glad to hear with the initiatives that you're taking in terms of reducing wastage. So thank you, Salman, for being here with us. And
thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much, and well done on the pitch.
Yes,
thank you.
Indeed.
Cheers.
Thanks.
So Elliott, that was our last pitch for today.
Yep.
How do you feel that went? And generally overall, do you feel it was something that maybe caught your interest today?
Look, they all caught my interest. The foundation of and denominator of VC is good quality deal flow. And the fact that Oraseya, that we can invest from pre-seed to B, means we're constantly on the lookout. With Salman at Platable, he's solving such a large, prevalent issue, and that's exciting. I haven't seen anyone crack it in the same capacity that Too Good To Go have, but I admire his vision and his approach. When it comes to Maxion, Christiana, she's got huge domain experience with millionaires and billionaires and that bespoke matchmaking. That's going to be a competitive USP as she grows the business. Again, it hasn't quite, in my opinion, reached the inflection point of the volume and adoption. And I'm not sure how she plans on scaling it beyond the UAE at this stage.
Right.
With regards to GetDesky, it's a very competitive market, not just in the region, but globally. So really excited to see how they manage to deploy and basically attract more and more leads and convert them, not in a 6, 12, 18-month sales cycle, because that will ultimately lead to their demise, but in a PLG-led focus.
Absolutely. And just one other question is, we had asks between $500,000 to, let's say, $1.5 million. Is that a reasonable ask in this seed stage round, that many audience members also would like to know that it's too much, when is it too less?
Yeah, great question. So I think what's worth mentioning is that a round doesn't happen overnight. There are many facets and often delays to making a round happen. Equally, within the same round, there may be investors coming in and putting checks at different valuations. So for example, GetDesky is raising, I think, 550, is that
Yes,
right?
550.
So they're raising 550. Let's say it's on a convertible, on a safe note. The cap on the first investor, maybe yourself, maybe, I don't know, 4 million. And then a couple of weeks go by, you tell me about it, I like it. Okay, I'll put the same as you, or double what you're putting in. So it hasn't. You're putting in 100k, maybe I'm putting in 200k. We're now at 300k. My valuation might be 4.5 million. And then we influence and persuade Sam, and he jumps in and he puts in the bigger check to close the round. And you may negotiate with the founder at the 4 million or the 5 million accordingly. I think it's very important that founders recognize how hard it is to fundraise, how long it takes to fundraise, and to be prepared for that.
Yeah. Well, look, Elliott, thank you so much. And also on behalf of all our viewers as well, I think it's so valuable to really delve into like your mind, what you're looking for, and the types of grueling questions that you have for the guest as well. So on behalf of us at Sandpit and our followership as well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
The pleasure is ours. I always endeavor to not only critique and add value to the founders, but in a position of privilege where we're broadcasting this to a larger audience. Hopefully the listeners have learned a thing or two about how we as investors see the world. Ultimately, it's about risk reward. Which vehicle is going to take us to the 10, 20, 100x, perhaps even more returns that we're anticipating in the quickest capacity. And sometimes that is a very, very difficult decision to be able to make.
Absolutely. So guys, thank you so much for watching. If you have a pitch that you'd love to send in for consideration from our investors, or even to be on the show, please do send them in. Our contact details are in the description and all those places where we might put it. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks.